Valorant's new lore cinematic prologue called Final Contact showed some amazing lore. A team consisting of Phoenix, Chamber, Clove, Waylay, and Tejo are aboard VALORANT Protocol's aircraft called the VLTR, aka the Vulture. They're on their way to Paris, where the First Light Expo is being held. Phoenix is desperately trying to get a hold of his sister Mary, but she isn't picking up. She's doing interviews at the expo, and we can even see the silhouette of our new agent Veto in the background. He is there to be a bodyguard for Mary while also being boots on the ground for Valorant. But why? Well, we hear KJ confirm for us that a group from Omega Earth called Atlas has come over to Alpha Earth to try and set off the megaspike around the city of Paris. This isn't just a normal spike that takes the radianite from the surrounding area. No, Atlas has modified the spike to increase the extraction range to cover the entire city. Not only that, but it will also transport the entire city to Omega Earth. Why Paris though? Well, Chamber tells us by quoting Victor Hugo when he says in French, "Whoever attacks Paris attacks the whole of humanity." And while this is still a theory, we believe that Omega Earth's Paris has become a wasteland of sorts, potentially as a result of the crazy environmental effects Omega's faced ever since First Light. And now they want to take Alpha Earth's Paris for themselves to redeem the city they lost. Something interesting to note here is that Phoenix actually understands what Chamber says in French, and this is because Phoenix has recently begun to learn the local languages of the places he goes to for missions. When Phoenix starts a match on Corrode, which is in France, you'll sometimes hear him say this voice line.
Wow, c'est sympa cette petite villa. That's right, pick up a bit every place we go. Your man's international now.
Both Phoenix and Chamber are kind of living their worst nightmare right now. Phoenix's younger sister Mary, whom he failed to protect when he was younger, is in the middle of the place where Atlas is planning to attack. And Chamber is a Parisian himself, his home city in serious danger. How scary must it be for the both of them at that moment, looking at their nightmares head on. Chamber gives Phoenix the only bit of comfort he can muster by putting a hand on his shoulder before we see troubled looks cross Clove, Tejo, and Waylay's faces too. Of course, Mary's phone ends up going to voicemail, and Phoenix musters his courage to leave her a message. His lip trembles and his foot can't sit still. You see the anxiety washing over him again and again. He can't tell her the full extent of what's going on, but he tries to warn her that something is about to happen. He sincerely apologizes to her for being an idiot all this time. Then he says, "But I promise I'm coming, and I will," before suddenly the Vulture's right engine gets hit by a missile and the plane begins to fall down. My jaw actually dropped when this happened, and my heart sank. The Vulture is going to crash. I'm not sure if Mary gets that voicemail, but can you imagine how scary that would be? To hear your brother say that danger was around the corner and then hear an explosion? I can't even fathom. But who's trying to take down the VALORANT Protocol? We got confirmation from Riot dev David Nottingham that it was Atlas who hit the Vulture. He said Atlas were clearly lying in wait. Set the trap for the Vulture. This means that Atlas knows the VP's intentions to try and stop them. They're not dumb, and they'll do whatever it takes to see that Alpha Paris is theirs. We were left on that crazy cliffhanger as we watched the Vulture slowly begin to crash until the next day when the VCT Champs opening ceremonies took place. We saw the Vulture skid into the ground where miraculously nobody seems to have gotten hurt. We hear Sage trying to communicate with the team as the Vulture is crashing down, and she's clearly freaking out. Phoenix says, "We do this together, fam. Rally to me," which is a clear change from his solo attempts at solving problems in the past. Waylay's work to make the team a true unit seems to have paid off. He shook off all the nerfs he had earlier on the plane and heads to where Atlas has just planted the megaspike. He tells Tejo to ult, and then the team regroups to take down Atlas. Chamber pulls out his tour de force, Tejo gets a crazy knife kill, and Waylay ults a group of Atlas before Phoenix takes the opening to start defusing the megaspike. I was honestly surprised Clove didn't use any smokes, but time is running short on the spike, and Atlas pulls out a giant rocket launcher and sends a missile directly at Phoenix. It looks like all hope is lost when suddenly Veto jumps in front of Phoenix with his ult activated, completely negating the missile. The spike thankfully gets defused and Paris is safe. We also finally get to see Mary and Phoenix reunite.
Hey sis,
You're actually here.
did you think I'd miss seeing my little sister perform?
I've got to get on stage. You're going to be here when I'm done, right?
I'm not going anywhere. Knock 'em dead, sis.
My heart is so happy that the two of them finally reunited. Oh my days, I was so worried he wouldn't be able to show up and make things right. We got to hear Ego performed live at the opening ceremony too, and it was so beautiful. I highly recommend watching the VOD if you didn't get to see it. Of course, all this leads to Veto's lore, which I will cover in the next video, so be sure to follow along so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye!